y'all, it's Heather, and today we're going to be talking about the new Ensley Underland collection. We've got cheek products, lip products, palette, singles, so much stuff to talk about. Let's jump into it. This is a full collection. There is a lot to this, so let me start with my favorite always, the palette. I love palettes, I can't help it. This is Underland. This is a 15 pan palette with 7 mattes, 8 shimmers. Some of those are multichromes, holochromes, duochromes, and metallics. I absolutely love the theme of this collection. I love the whole Alice in Wonderland, Alice through the Looking Glass theme. I think the artwork is beautiful. I think the color story of this palette is beautiful. We're gonna do eye swatches, but I wanted to show it to you all swatched out on my arm so that you could see, I could really capture the shift because I want to be helpful. I want to give you as much information as I can about these collections because I know there are so many new releases happening all the time. At the time that I'm filming this, I do not know the launch date or time, but I will put that in a pinned comment in the description box. Any information I can find will be there. I do have an affiliated code with Ensley. It is Heather. If you're ever shopping their site and you want to get a discount, you can use that code. There is a handheld compact mirror in this collection, which I thought was a really cute touch, and it comes in a nice box. It has the nice artwork on it, so I'm gonna put that in my purse. There's also an Underland lip trio as part of this collection, and I really love my Ensley lip products, so I was super excited to see more. This is the shade Bonkers, and this is a lip velvet from the brand. So there is the shade right there on my hand, and I'll also show you the shade on my lips. I did pair this with a lip liner. I think this is a really beautiful shade. I really like these kind of purpley pinky tones. I think they can be super beautiful and like give some contrast to my skin. So I have a little bit of this on today mixed with something else, but there's also a lip lacquer in the shade Underland. This is a black shade in their lip lacquer formula, and I believe we saw this shade in their Twisted Tea Party collection, which I did pull that palette, and we'll talk about this in the comparison portion of the video. But Twisted Tea Party, where it has the Mad Hatter, and then opening up the palette, we have the cool Cheshire Cat. I will link my video for this. It's an older video, but I will link that down below. And I love that. I love seeing this like collection, this theme expand. But there is the black, and I'm pretty sure this was part of that collection as well. Yes, it was. I just went and dug through my Ensley lip products to verify. But next we have a plumping lip oil, and this is Off With Their Heads. I really like the lip oil formula from Ensley. I only have one, I think, from them in this formula, and it's like an orange to a pink. So this has a very faint shimmer, and I like this. I did pair this with the lip liner for the lip swatch just a little bit. I will list the lip liners down below in the description box. And for my lip right now, I am wearing just kind of like the lip oil and the Bonkers lip velvet mixed together, and then I kind of patted it in with my finger to kind of sheer it out to give me this like mixed lip that I have going on. This is the Distorted Dreamland Blush and Bronzer Face Duo. Now this shade for me is not a bronzer whatsoever, you can see. So I decided to mix the bronzer and the blush shades for my blush today because I know Ensley blushes are so pigmented, and I knew that this blush shade was very deep in color. If you are looking for pigmented blushes, I think you are really gonna like this. I started off very light and I built it up a little bit, and then of course it's what I'm wearing today. I mixed both the shades together. I think really pretty, but I also thought maybe I could give you a little swatch next to the lip products in case you're curious about how they look on their own. So I'll kind of swatch the bronzer right there and then the blush right there. These are magnetic, like you can remove the compacts. You see there's a little divot there, so you can swap the shades around if you want. There are also 2 highlighters as a part of this collection, and again we have that beautiful packaging, but this shade is Moonlight Madness. So we have this deeper kind of more gold sparkly type of highlighter, really beautiful on the cheeks. I just kind of dusted it on with a kind of smaller fluffy brush to make sure I could be a little more precise with my highlight. And again, we have those nice beautiful magnetic pans, so you can swap this around, and I'll kind of swatch the shade too for you so that you can see, look how pretty that is instead of just seeing it on my cheeks. But of course we don't go on our highlighter like that, but just so you can kind of see the tone and everything. This next shade is called Dreamless, again with the beautiful compact, beautiful shade inside. This has a lot of pretty sparkle to it, which I really like a highlighter that has sparkle because it gives you that wet effect to the cheeks, which is definitely what I'm going for. Intensity, so pretty. Let me give you a little swatch of this one too. They definitely shift, so both of these kind of have a shiftiness about them, but I have both shades mixed on my cheeks today so I could get a cohesive look after doing one shade on each cheek. So that's what I have going on with my makeup today, and then I sprayed setting spray on to help everything kind of mesh into my skin. There are 5 pressed singles as a part of this collection, and typically Ensley Rain singles are hand pressed, so I'm going to be eye swatching all of these, but I just wanted to show you them all swatched out together with the mirror, everything like that, so that you can see how beautiful these are. There are some different formulas in here, but like I said, you will see them all on the eyes, so you'll kind of see how they perform, the textures, everything like that. I put the 5 new shades here in my empty magnetic palette with the rest of my Ensley Rain singles. Well, I guess it's not such an empty palette now because I've been filling it up. Now that I've shown you every piece of this collection, we're gonna get into the eye swatches, then we will do comparisons, and then we will do the tutorial, and I'll kind of give you my final thoughts on this full Underland collection. If you've never seen my eye swatch videos, I'm gonna zoom you in nice and close. I'm gonna put down an eyeshadow primer because I always use an eyeshadow primer with my oily lids, my deep set eyes. I'm gonna give you live swatches on my hand, I'm gonna give you a swatch on my eyes, and then I'm gonna use a brush, both with the mattes and with the non-matte shadows, so that no matter how you like to apply your shadows, you can see how they perform. The bare skin of my hand, the primed lid with the brush, and without. We're gonna swatch the first 4 shades on my hand, and then we'll do eye swatches, but we're gonna start with this shade right here, Twisted Rabbit. We'll go down this column, and then we'll end with Wicked Wildflowers. Here is Twisted Rabbit. This shade is Shatter Looking Glass. Isn't that pretty? It's got so many different like rainbow sparkles with this beautiful kind of like multichrome-esque type base. Like, oh, it's just so beautiful. Here is the shade Dreadful Dreams. Really, really pretty. Let's smooth out the White Rabbit shade too. Dreadful Dreams, kind of like a dreary blue type of color. And this is Wicked Wildflowers. Look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. I don't think I pointed out that these pans are removable, so you can kind of mix them around with your other Ensley Rain's palette if you want. You can just rearrange the palette, you know, whatever you want to do. Now this white matte is going to go on top of this light base, so it's not going to be as impactful as how I would use it when I'm doing a look, because when I'm doing a look, I would use this to maybe lighten up a shade, like mixed with one of these deeper shades to create something a little lighter, or as a bright inner corner pop, or to layer a shadow on top of, which we'll be playing with all of that when we get to the tutorial part. But I just wanted to let you know, because I can definitely see the white on this base, but I know it's not as impactful, of course, as it is on my hand. Now that it's on with the brush, you can see much more like how pigmented it is. I just kind of pressed it and then blended just a tiny bit. Shatter Looking Glass. Very, very cute. That is so pretty. I really like that. Now I did blend it in with the brush. I did not use a glitter primer. I did not spray my brush with any setting spray, nothing like that. Just dry onto the lid after the finger swatch. Very impactful. You can really see the shimmer, the shine, how it hits the light. Here is the shade Dreadful Dreams. Isn't that really pretty? Oh, I like that color a lot. And here it is, blended with a brush. Pigmented, smooth, beautiful, exactly what I expect from the brand. Wicked Wildflowers, really pigmented, lots of sparkle. Probably won't even bother with the brush with this shade. I never use my fingers for shadows, but I know a lot of y'all do, so I think it can be helpful with these eye swatches. That is stunning. Now on the darker base of my hand compared to the lighter base of my eye, it's showing up a lot more. So depending on what you pair it with, it will pull those different shades. Before I wipe these eye swatches off, we will go in, we'll start here with this matte. We'll do Cheshire's Curse. We'll do this shade, and then this shade. So the next 4, ending with Wicked Rose. Here is Cheshire's Curse. Beautiful purple shade. And this is the shade Shadowland. And this is so intense. It's like a metallic, but it's almost like diamond-esque. It has so much like sparkle to it. And when I say sparkle, I mean sparkle, shimmer. I'm not talking about pressed glitters. No pressed glitters here. The Red Queen and Wicked, whoops, I've got my hand like creased or something. This is Wicked Rose, okay. I'm like, that was not the best swatch. I was trying to swatch with my hand was like this, but beautiful, 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 beautiful. Okay, let's get them on the eyes. Cheshire's Curse right here. That deep, dark, matte purple. That is pigmented. That is pigmented. That is so pretty. Like, I'm so into it. I love that matte shade. Here's the shade Shadowland. This is probably one of my favorite shades in the palette. Like, I just really like the intensity of this. I like the reflect that it has. I think everything about it is just so pretty. I'm getting a little messy out here, but that's okay. I just want you to be able to see this shade. It's stunning. If you want to wear any of these shades as one and dones, beautiful. Meaning just do like I'm doing, one shade, but you know, like a little more blending than what I'm doing. And mascara, you're good to go. Like, this is so pretty. I love the intensity of this shade. It reminds me of like a night sky. I don't know, I'm into it. This matte shade is called Wicked Rose. I'm trying to swatch all the matte shades on the same eye to minimize getting sparkle or shimmer or anything transferred over here. But if you do see a little sparkle, just know it's from like putting on and taking off shadows and swatching with my fingers and things like that. I love a red shadow. I think it's so impactful, intense, and just like, a confident color. Like, something about it just exudes confidence, which I know, like, I've seen, I should say, that people say red lips will do that, but there's something about like a burgundy or red shadow that just, it's so delicious. Now I'll apply the Red Queen right over here. See if I can just use my finger instead of grabbing a brush. These shades are beautiful together. Like, just do this, maybe use a little white to blend out the edges, or a face powder, something like that with the deep dark matte, and then pack this red metallic like shift shadow on top, and it would be stunning. We'll swatch on top of some colored bases at the end of the eye swatches. We'll do that. The next shade is Behead, and we're gonna kind of skip around a little bit because I want to make sure I get all the mattes swatched on this eye with as least amount of sparkle as possible. So we'll do Behead, and then we will do, what's next? Surreal right here. We'll do the matte beside Surreal, Nonsense, and then we'll do Hallucination. So that way I can kind of keep the mattes and the non-mattes separated in terms of my eyes until we have no mattes left. Here is Behead. Oh, that's such a pretty shifty type of color. I know you saw in the swatches like the shifts and everything at the beginning of the video, but man, that is gorgeous. This is the shade Surreal. So pretty, like so intense, so beautiful. And these, the more space you can give multichromes or duochromes or holochromes, anything that has like shift to it, the more space you can give it, the better. So using that shade kind of all over your lid you're gonna see the shift the most as you move about your day, your life, people are seeing you this way, you're seeing yourself in different lighting. You're gonna see that shift the most versus like just head on in a swatch like this. That's why at the beginning I did the swatches where I'm kind of showing you in the mirror so you can see those different angles. If you have like deep set eyes like me, usually I take the shadows up kind of high so that you can still see them. If you have hooded lids, take your shadows up higher. Like, do what you want. You make the rules when it comes to your face. Here's the shade Nonsense, Deep Dark Matte, and this is Hallucination. Very, very pretty. Not as fun to swatch mattes, but there they are. Here is the shade Behead. I'm definitely gonna blend this one with a brush because I can't apply it well with my fingers. There it is, tapped on with my brush. Very pretty. You can see that like dark black base. So if you blend a little bit, like it will kind of have that like base more to it versus if you pack, you're gonna have more of that like sparkle metallic. But I'm not concerned with blending or anything, just getting it down. So pretty. Here's the shade Hallucination. That is really pigmented. Oh, I love that kind of mossy, murky green. I needed that shade in my life. I did. I definitely did. This is the shade Nonsense. Deep, dark, beautiful, kind of like blackened plum. There is Nonsense, kind of pressed on with the brush. I'm not gonna worry about blending that too much, but how beautiful is that color. Here's the shade Surreal. I'm not even gonna bother with the brush with that shade because like you can see the shift and everything. I took it up kind of high so that you can see how truly special it is. Before I wipe these eye swatches off, we'll swatch on my hand these last 3 shades from our palette. Here is Jabberwocky. Isn't that stunning? I love that. Then we have the shade Chaos. I'll kind of put that right here on the side of my hand. Chaos. And we have one more matte shade called Rabbit Hole. So maybe I'll just put that right here. Beautiful, beautiful. But my husband just walked through the door. I'm gonna go spend a couple of hours with him and then I'll be back. It'll be a second for you. Something I forgot to mention earlier is that the lip oil is plumping. Yes, it's plumping lip oil. I wanted to check and make sure the packaging said that. It like tingled a little bit, kind of strong for me for about 5 minutes when I first put it on, and I just like reapplied it because I was eating snacks and all of that, so I reapplied it and it's tingling a little bit, but it's going away. I would say like after 5 or so minutes, the tingling goes away. Here's the shade Rabbit Hole, this really like teal, blue, green type of color. Once again, this matte shade is blending beautifully, pigmented. Not gonna spend too much time on it, but not having any problems. So exactly what I expect from the brand in terms of mattes in this palette. I'm gonna put Jabberwocky right here and see if I can kind of press that on without needing a brush. I mean, that's intense. Like that is intense, pigmented. That's really gorgeous. Here is the shade Chaos, the last shade from our palette, and it is completely beautiful, beautiful green shade. Like that's just, oh, it's like a tree frog or something that has like this shift. I don't know. That's really pretty. But that's all the shades in our palette. So let's swatch the single shadows together. I know you already saw them swatch on my arms, but I also want to do live swatches. We'll go ahead and swatch all 5. Here is Gloomy Glow. So I thought we would swatch this one on the eyes next to the green from the palette so you can see like how similar or how different they are. Here is Painting the Roses Red. Right there. Oh, so yummy. I'm actually gonna go ahead and swatch Chaos from the palette right here. So you can see the different tones of the green, like not the same. And then maybe, what was that one? The Red Queen, we can swatch right next to Painting the Roses red. So you can see that those are not the same. I put Behead from the palette right there too, so that you could see that they're not the same. Here is Sinister Slumber right there. You can see that shift big time, even just when I move my hand. Here is Mind Melt. Beautiful holographic, like a true silver holographic. And then one more shade. Here is Haunted Hatter. Oh, I love that orangey bronze yellow. So delicious. Here is Gloomy Glow. So here you can see the green from the palette is much more like a green to a yellow, whereas this is more of a green to a blue. So they do have like a similar green to them, but the other shade that's with it is different. And this shade over here is more like, yeah, more green yellow, whereas this over here is more like green blue. Painting the Roses red is gonna go right here, and then Sinister Slumber right over here. Both of those shades very pretty, lots of shift and sparkle to both of these. Yes, I am getting some fallout. I'm starting to get like messier the more I do. Mind Melt. Oh, I love a holographic shadow. I really do. Like, that's so pretty, and that's just a little bit blended with my finger. It's hard to even like pick up on camera. Like, it's so, oh, it just makes me so happy. Last but not least, we have Haunted Hatter. Okay, both of these so pretty. Just focus on the lid, not how messy not how messy my face is getting or anything like that. Makeup makes me so happy. It really does. Like, I feel so good when I look at sparkles, when I get to try on these shadows. Let me know if you still find the eye swatches valuable. I always appreciate y'all's feedback. Let's do a couple swatches of the shimmers over top of the mattes so that you can see kind of how versatile this palette is. So for this swatch, I put down the shade Nonsense, the dark matte, and then I put the shade Wicked Wildflowers over top. Here I put Rabbit Hole, and let's put Shatter Looking Glass on top. So you can see a deeper base will kind of transform it. I'll put down a different shade. I'll put down the Dreadful Dreams, and we'll do the Shatter Looking Glass on top of that one so that you can see, like, it can really transform a shadow to put a different color base underneath. So I hope that's helpful, even if it's not like reaching for another base, like another colored eyeshadow primer or gel liner or something like that, just using the shadows in the palette in different ways. I want to jump into some quick comparisons for you. This is Twisted Tea Party, and there's really no repeating shades between these palettes. They're completely different color stories. This palette has a black, whereas this palette has a white. We have a more bright color story where we have a more like grungy color story going on in the new Underland palette. I know the backgrounds of these palettes can make them a little hard to see, but hopefully that helps you see, like, I mean, there's a lot of purple going on here, like, just, they're very different. This is the Harvest Moon palette from Ensley Rain. This one is definitely deeper and darker for the brand, so I thought maybe it would be helpful to see these two next to one another. Let me get them lined up. And you can see, even though they're both like that darker color story, this one overall is much more colorful than the Harvest Moon. So Harvest Moon leans a lot more neutral, especially with the matte shades, but you can kind of mix and match, rearrange the palettes if you want to. And their other palette, Cosmic Dreamer, I thought maybe you would like to see this one just for maybe some little quick comparisons. This one has like a mix of bright shades and a mix of dark shades, so maybe it will be helpful to see these color stories together. We definitely have a lot going on in the Cosmic Dreamer palette, kind of those bright pops, but we do have some grungier tones. Nothing that really overlaps though, like no shades that I would say, oh, these are exactly the same. Even this white is not a matte white, so no dupes just in case. And I'll let you know, like if Ensley Rain had not sent me this collection, I would purchase it because I really love the brand. I hope you enjoyed seeing those comparisons. I hope they were helpful. I'm going to clean up a little bit of my face. I'm going to zoom you in and we are going to create 2 different eye looks. We're gonna do 2 different eye looks, but I'm gonna kind of work on them at the same time. That way I can get a cohesive look. I do wear 2 eye looks out of the house, like why not? Nobody has ever stopped me from entering the grocery store or McDonald's because I have 2 different eye looks on. Like literally nobody cares. So I am gonna do 2 different looks and I'm going to do them at the same time so that I can control the depth levels. That's what's really gonna still keep me with somewhat of a cohesive look, even though I'm using different shades. I really want to go in with this red right here called Wicked Rose and Rabbit Hole, this shade down here. That's what I'm gonna start with. I've got Wicked Rose and I'm just gonna kind of press that into my socket all in here, and I just want to kind of press it first. If you see a little sparkle in any of my mattes, it's just because of the eye swatches and everything. So I'm going to take that down to my lid right out here, and I'm not worried about blending too much right now. Now I'm taking that shade Rabbit Hole and I'm going to do the same exact placement. So by keeping the placement the same and kind of the depth level the same, it's going to give me some cohesiveness despite different shades, and it's going to be really, really cool in the end, I think. And we'll definitely pull in some single shadows for one eye as well, just in case. Like you'll have an eye just with the palette if maybe you're just interested in the palette, and then you'll have an eye with the singles in case you're curious about the singles as well. Now I'm going to use a little bit of this shade right here, the purpley shade, and a little bit of this green olive color. So these 2 right here. I've got a tiny bit of that shade Cheshire's Curse, and it's a pigmented purple, but I want to pull this in right out here to this outer blend just to kind of make it to where it's like this red that fades out a little bit to the purple. I think that's gonna be really cute, like just a little something something. It's looking intense now, don't worry, it will be fine, it will be fine. I want to take the purple underneath my lower lash line though, and since my under eye is already a little messy from doing the eye swatches, I'm going to take this time to go bold and intense and blend the shade down pretty low. It's going to help kind of cover everything up. Also do this sometimes when I haven't gotten enough sleep and I really just lean into the whole like blown out eye look, but I'm just gonna take that purple there for now. I'm doing the same thing over to this eye, but I'm using that green matte shade, and I'm going to have to add a little bit more just because this green is a lot lighter than the purple, so I'm gonna pack it a little bit to make sure I don't lose the intensity. And with my olive undertone, this is just gonna be like a shade that kind of blends a little more seamlessly for me naturally. Even though it's not super warm, I want to make sure that I don't over blend and lose it. I'm really into how this is like blending. I think this looks grungy and cool, and I'm leaning into a little bit of the messiness that I have going on. I'm gonna fix this right here, but that's like more so my under eye. I'm gonna fix that before we're done with the look. But I wanna go in with the shade over here, and I'm feeling Shadowland. I think this is the vibe. I just wanna go in with one shimmer all over the lid, and then over here for this eye, I wanna dip into our singles, and I wanna use that holographic shade. I'm like, let me get this shade right here. Oh, I like that shade. I did spray my brush with a little setting spray after I picked up the shadow on my brush. That's my way to use shimmers. I love spraying my shimmers. It helps minimize fallout. I mean, not that it matters after doing all these eye swatches, but it definitely like makes the shadow as intense as it can be, and I love it. That's like a wow shade for me. I feel wow in that shade. Y'all, I have rubbed off like my concealer and eyeshadow primer so many times. don't judge me. Here is the shade Mind Melt. I'm gonna put it all over my lid, but not in the outer corner. I'm gonna use the single Sinister Slumber just right here on my inner corner. For this side over here, I actually wanna use this matte white shade. Oh, because it's so pigmented and I love it. I'm going to clean up a little bit. Make sure that my concealer over here is not interfering with anything. I can see over here, like, I need to blend in. I got a little eyeshadow primer. I was trying to fix that, but I'm gonna give myself a minute to kind of clean things up, put on a liner and a lash, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have cleaned up as much as possible. Still a little messy right out here, but it's the nature of eye swatches, and I wanted to give y'all two different looks in case you were planning to pick up this collection. So this look right here, I put on a dramatic lash to kind of emphasize that more cat eye type shape that we have going on. And then we have a darker look over here, a little more grungy. I'm into both of them. Palette, I love. I love this shape of palette. I love the color story. I'm actually gonna be traveling next week, and I think I'm gonna take this palette with me because I'm so into it. The single shadows, of course, I love. These are typically always hand pressed from Ensley Rain, so I haven't heard officially, but I'm assuming that these are hand pressed shadows, and I love those. Now, the lip products, I really like this color. I really like the lip oil. It's a little tingly for me, but I do appreciate that it goes away after a couple of minutes, because if it didn't, I would not be able to tolerate it. It's not too painful, but it does have a little tingle. So if you're a little sensitive like me, just letting you know. Now, the bronzer and blush duo, I don't know if they're having more shades than this. I hope so, because this shade is like light enough to be an under eye brightening powder for me. It is not a bronzer at all. So I know this is not gonna work for everybody, but I also don't know if there are gonna be more shades. So I'll be keeping an eye out on Ensley Rain for that. I really like that we have the mirror. I like that one side is a mirror and one side is more of a magnifying mirror. I'm gonna be putting this in my bag too. And I really like both the highlighters. I will say, like, they both work for my skin tone. I do have like a medium to tan skin tone, and they both work for me. So it just depends on kind of what shade I want to go with. So there are my thoughts on the collection. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I will pop up another Ensley Rain video here for you to watch, and I would love if you would stick around, chat with me in the comments, check out some of my other videos, because I love makeup. I can and do talk about it all the time. And if you're planning to pick up this collection, I will have the link. I will have my affiliate code. I will have any information I can have down in the description box.